Hi, would you like to get your documentation done faster and get home sooner? Well, so would I. I'm Barbara C. Phillips, founder of Nurse Practitioner Business Owner and npbusiness.org, and this is an NPBO Clinician's Business Tip. Now, I get questions from nurse practitioners and PAs and other clinicians around the country all the time, and one of them happens to be, how can I get done faster with my day? And that means, how can I get my documentation done faster so I can go home sooner? Because this is the one thing that holds a lot of us up. And so I thought I would talk about that today. Now, I'm going to assume that you own an EMR or you're using an EMR or an EHR of some sort. And if you are, you know that you probably have drop down menus that you can select items from to put into your progress notes. Perhaps you have templates that are already built in or some that you have customized that you can add to your notes and you can pick and choose. Or maybe they're just checklists that you check off different items and that populates your progress note. Well, all of those things can certainly make it faster for you, but they can also hinder you. And just a word of warning, there's a lot of information right now about cloned notes, and that's not something that you want to do. So whenever you're using a template or any of the things that we're going to talk about today, make sure that you customize that note for that particular patient for that particular visit so that it is an individualized chart note and it doesn't look like it's just been copied and pasted from visit to visit to visit. That'll get you in a lot of trouble. So, one of the ways that many of us have documented over the years is we've done dictation, right? We would walk around with our digital voice recorders or maybe just a little dictaphone and we would dictate into it whatever we wanted to have in our progress note. That dictation then would go off to a transcriptionist who would then type up the note, send it back to us for proofreading and for signing, and then it would get put into the chart. And that's when we were doing paper charts. Well, they're doing the same kind of thing now for people that are using transcriptionists. The difference is the transcriptionist is putting the information directly into the chart itself, and that chart gets sent back to the provider, and the provider then will read it and then sign off on the chart notes. So that's an option for some people. The dictationist may be in your office, or it's somebody down the hall or across the street, or it may be across the country or even across the world. But this is something that is commonly still done. Many of us are using voice recognition software. I've used it myself. And for some of us, it works really well. One of the issues over the years has been it's harder to use one of the simple off-the-shelf types of voice recognition software because now there are medical versions and many of the older ones will not work in the new EMRs. Now, when I was looking for an alternative to this, one of the things that I found in reading some of the different journals out there is I found a physician who was actually using her iPhone, and she was using an app called Plain Text, and she would dictate into that app. That app was synced with her Dropbox account, and then she would turn around and copy and paste that information from her desktop Dropbox account right into her note. Well, I didn't have an iPhone, but I do use Androids. And so when I tested this out, I tested it with an older version of Android and a program called Ipsol, if I am saying that correctly. And I synced it to my Dropbox account and then copy and pasted it into my note. What I found was it wasn't that great for me. It didn't work so well. But for others, it has worked. And of course, since I have tried this, there are newer versions of different programs and certainly newer Android operating software out. So it may work better today. In the meantime, what I found is that my iPad had a great voice recognition that I could dictate into. And so I started using that and it worked really well, synced with iCloud. But the other thing is I could actually, in some of the EMRs, I could actually dictate directly into the program, which was much preferable. Still, it wasn't 100%. Now, word of caution here, because Dropbox, and I'm not sure about iCloud, but I think it's the same, they are not HIPAA compatible. So you have to be careful about that. But what you can use instead is a program called Box.com. And so there are ways that you would still be able to sync your notes. Box has come out and said that it is HIPAA compliant. In fact, it is the storage of choice for many healthcare professionals to put their information up there because it is HIPAA compliant. So those are things that you can use. Now, if you want to go a step further, and maybe you want that human touch right there with you, you can use medical scribes. And practices are using this in various ways. The first time that I saw it being used was when I took my mother to a specialist. And I was pretty impressed because I'd never seen it before. And I was actually, I have to admit, a little bit envious. And so what happened was the physician was in the room, talked to my mother, was putting information into their EHR. And when it came time for him to examine my mother, a scribe was there in the room, and he would tell the scribe the findings, and then the scribe would put it in the chart, and then this scribe went on to another room, and this provider would finish the chart off. Now, I've seen it also used, or I've heard of it also used, with providers who just have somebody in there the entire time. They have been trained as far as what to listen to and what kind of information to put into the record. And then the provider, of course, has to go through, double check everything, and then sign it off. So that's an option for some people. Now, you have to also weigh the fact of, or the cost of having an employee versus your time savings. But for some practices, this can be really the way to go. Now, if you're not using a medical scribe, what else can we use? Well, we type, right? And some of us are great at touch typing. Some of us do this hunt and peck thing, but it really doesn't matter. No matter what you're doing, if you are typing, you're typing some of the same stuff over and over again, whether it be words or phrases or even parts of exams. So that's not really very efficient in terms of your time. And one of the things that you can use is a macro program. But don't despair, I'm not talking about you have to program anything or anything like that, but there are programs out there that are text replacement software. And it may even be built into your PC or your Mac now, and that's something that you can easily check. But I'm going to talk to you about a couple of different programs that I personally have used and have worked out really well for me. My favorite that I used for many, many years is called ShortKeys, and you can get that at shortkeys.com. The only complaint that I have about it is it's only available for the PC, and I'm using a Mac most of the times now, so I can't always use this. But it's a fantastic little program. I think I paid $29 for it. All you do is you pick your activator keys so that it tells the software, oh, these initials are going to go into here with this type of text replacement. And I would use it for words that maybe I always had trouble spelling with, or words that were really very long, or sometimes up to an entire exam or an entire paragraph. I could just use 2 or 3 or 4 characters, and boom, it would be populated in my note. Now, remember what I said earlier, you still are going to have to customize that to your individual patient. So if I had a normal exam and the lungs weren't clear, I needed to go back in and change that out and put in exactly what my breath sounds were. So that works real well. Another one now for the Mac that I'm using is I actually use Type It For Me. Another very popular one is Text Expander. I like Type It For Me, and one of the things that I really like is it syncs through iCloud. And so if I'm using it on my desktop, I can always get my new macro that I've put in on my laptop and vice versa. So those work really well for me. Again, go ahead and do a search, do a Google search for Text Expander, and you'll find all kinds of software. But if you're on a PC, I really don't have any higher recommendation than ShortKeys. It works beautifully. If you're on a Mac, I like Type It For Me, and Text Expander is also a very popular one that you can use. So I want to hear from you. What tools are you using to get your documentation done faster? If you're using any of those and you want to share them, please do so below this video on our blog, and that would be fantastic. Now, if you've just stumbled upon us and you've never heard of us before, you can sign up for updates in our newsletter at npbusiness.org, and you can also follow us on any of these social media sites. So that's all that I have today, but I really appreciate you spending time with us today. And tune in next time for another edition of NPBO Clinicians Business Tips. Bye bye now.